Hi guys, welcome back to the Ratchet Christian. As always, I want to say I'm excited to be here. I mean, I'm always happy to be back on here talking to you all. I see some new subscribers, so thank you very much. Welcome. This is a free space, an open space. We are free to agree, to disagree, all those things on here. I want to say this is a safe space, but that word is annoying, but it is a safe space. For whatever opinion it is that you may have. And so we're going to be talking about some things today that are centered around speech. There's just a lot going on, and I'm trying to find like a very fancy political way to say it, but there really isn't like a fancy and political way to say it, except for there's just too much going on. There's too much going on. And before I even go deep down into all of it, let me introduce my co-hosts. At this point, they're not guests. They're part of the podcast. You see them, you love them. This wonderful man to my right is my husband, Osamu. Woo!
That's supposed to be all
the little clap finger. And to his right, we have one of our very close friends, the Minister of Enjoyment, the Prime Minister of Foolishness. You used that yesterday. That was pretty good. The President of Yemen, the King of Procrastination. Did we forget anything else, Rami?
I think y'all got it.
I think we got it all. You guys, welcome back to the pod, Rami. I lose.
That little thing you hurt my finger.
Just doing this?
Yeah,
no way.
Still tight.
I feel like I'm gonna just start to let y'all introduce yourselves because at this point I don't even feel right calling you guys guests of the pod anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe
where's my paycheck?
When I get mine, you'll get yours.
Yeah, you pay me. I'll introduce myself.
I got you. Once I start to get paid, I'm gonna be a crooked boss. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna pay you all well because this is America and it's capitalism.
Wow.
I'm just kidding, but yeah, no. Next time y'all can just introduce yourselves because this is you're at home here, and I'm gonna stop stalling because I'll be waiting until 20 minutes of the episode to begin into the topics, and we're not doing it anymore. We're not doing that anymore. We don't have time to waste. A lot happened this week alone. By the time you all see this episode, is going to be next week, but today is September 12th, right? Mm-hmm. So we're filming September 12th, and it'll be out later next week. But this week on September 10th, Charliekirk was shot. Mm-hmm. And I know the word on YouTube is unalive, but sometimes you have to use the word to understand the levity of what it is that actually happened. And so we're going to give our thoughts and opinions about that. But before we do, I want to start with the facts of what actually had happened. And last night I stayed up looking for I want to make sure I do my research, not just regurgitating all the things that people have already seen on social media. And so I was just, wanting to learn more about Charliekirk. Like, I'm definitely more conservative leaning, if not conservative. Mm-hmm. Right now, the Conservative Party, whatever, is just a mess. So I don't even know if I want to call myself one at this current time. But I'm definitely leaning that way. I listened to Candace Owens. I listened to Tucker Carlson. But I didn't quite get into listening to Charliekirk. Just because, on some things, it did kind of, he's definitely outspoken for the white race. You know what I mean? His interests are clear, but I'm outspoken for the African-American community. I'm outspoken for the things that happen in Africa and in Sierra Leone. People are outspoken for the things that impact their community. And I feel like I agreed a lot with the views that he had surrounding family and marriage. And after his death, I learned that he's a really devout Christian, he has really, really, really strong faith. And I feel like I didn't know that so much about him because those clips didn't go as viral, And so for me, I'm kind of learning a lot about him after the fact. And so I was in the kitchen making lunch, and I was texting you on Wednesday, and you're like, hey, did you know that Charliekirk got assassinated? And I was like, what are you? I'm literally making a turkey sandwich as you're telling me this. And so you send me a link, and I watched the video. I wish I wouldn't have. I shouldn't have. I watched it different times from different angles. And to see somebody lose their life on camera is something that I hope I never get used to. I was astonished by how sick I got to my stomach. I barely wanted to eat my food. I cried.
It was crazy.
This is somebody who I'm I don't follow them closely. I respect them. I respect anybody who's outspoken. Even if I don't agree with what it is that you're saying, I will always respect people who are courageous enough to say it. Freedom of speech is not for people that you agree with. It's just not. That's not how it works. Freedom of speech actually is for the people that you don't agree with.
These are the times.
That's what it's for.
Those are the times when
And so let me get into some facts about him. before I start ranting. And first of all, as I went on Google to try to figure out what it is that happened, even how they're speaking about him in the media, to me, is so disgusting. And how people have reacted to his death is disgusting. I was trying to find just the facts, who he is, where he's from, where that happened. And an article that I was about to click on, and of course it's from the New York Times. It says Charliekirk, close ally of Trump, is shot dead at university in Utah. Yeah. What does him being a close ally of Trump need to be in association with you reporting on his death? Mm-hmm. Because for me, I've learned to analyze everything. That's intentional. Yeah. Even in that wording, they're letting you know, oh, you don't need to feel that bad for this guy because he's a close ally of Trump. Yeah. And I saw so much of that as I was researching his death, is that even after his death, people are still so wanting to continue to dehumanize him as a person.
It's kind of scary to see people's reactions. Like, I didn't expect people to just be so like, cutthroat and just be
it's sick.
Oh, like this is what happens like when you talk about XYZ. I'm like, really?
Hold on.
You can't have an opinion about anything?
Let me tell you some facts about Charliekirk before we get into our opinions. James Charles Kirk was born on October 14th in 1993. So first of all, he's only 31 years old. Mm-hmm. That's a year younger than me. Mm-hmm. I'm 32 years old. I got to outlive Charliekirk. Mm-hmm. This man is married. He has 2 children. He's married to this beautiful woman named Iryna. And it says, Charlie James Kirk was an American right-wing and conservative political commentator and media personality. He co-founded the organization Turning Point USA in 2012 and was its executive director. He was the chief executive officer of Turning Point Action and a member of the Council of National Policy. In his later years, he was one of the most prominent voices of the populist MAGA movement and exemplified the growth of Christian nationalism. First of all, he was just reading the Bible and talking about his faith. Why is that Christian nationalism? Yeah, we'll get into that. In the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. So all the buzzwords to let you know you don't need to feel bad for this guy. Yeah. And this is just out there. And so he was raised in Chicago. Let me see right here. Kirk expanded the organization's influence through initiatives such as the Professor Watch List and School Board Watch List, which critics have said sought to fire or silence professors and educators through targeted harassment campaigns for sharing opinions opposed by Turning Point. Mm-hmm. Do you see the wording in that? Yeah. Targeted harassment campaigns is okay. So that's what happened. Let's get into what happened on September 10th. It says on September 10th, 2025, Kirk was shot and killed while speaking at a Turning Point USA public debate event on the campus of Utah Valley University. So these are the facts, kind of, mixed in with some political jargon and opinions. Mm-hmm. Young guy, shot in Utah. Honey, I'm going to start with you, then I'll move on to Rami. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
The Utah?
No, not just his passing in general, him being assassinated.
Yeah. So I think that I'm just surprised at just how cutthroat people are about it. Like I said, everybody's just coming from this really cold place from like, it's not normal for somebody to just get shot in the neck for talking. I wasn't not the biggest, I wasn't like a fan of his, but I did, the only real thing that I liked about him was his stances on Christianity and how he defended people's rights to be Christian. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even like he was really, and then, I also could agree with him too, to a certain extent, about protecting, wanting to protect rights, wanting to ensure that, amendments weren't changed, because if you change one, mm-hmm. That's gonna have, a domino effect. It's like, and gun laws and everything, that's a whole nother thing. Like that's a whole controversial thing. Whether you think we should have guns in America or not, that's not going to stop violence. Mm-hmm. His whole thing is just that, like, this is a right that we were given. Like, we shouldn't just give stuff up like this, which I've always agreed with. I've always agreed with anybody saying stuff like that. That's why you have an amendment, you make another amendment, you don't change any rights. Like, mm-hmm. you can make little modifications here and there, but anyways, but it was crazy to see when I saw it. It just shook me at my core. Like, I was just like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I have never. I mean, when I saw it too, also was like, I instantly knew, like, I was like, he's dead. Mm-hmm. So when they said they took him to the hospital, I actually was confused by that. Mm-hmm. And I know you were too. Yeah. Like, we were both medics in the military. Like, we know it looks like when you get like an abrupt like spinal cord injury,
you die on the spot,
or you just are killed instantly like mm-hmm. that. And like, he was dead before he hit the ground.
But they've been changing the story, apparently. And before I got off on my whole spiel, Rami, what were your thoughts about, hearing the news and all the things about what happened to him this week?
I think the thing about Charliekirk and this whole situation is it can be taken in two different kind of ways. Um, Either one, it could be about the things that he said, or it could be about anybody who speaks out getting killed.
Right.
Because the reality is, no two people's ideologies completely align. Even you guys are married.
Yeah.
You guys do not agree 100%. You guys have division
disagree,
somewhere, right?
For
Everybody
sure.
has division somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's about how we address that,
Yeah.
and how people react to that.
Yeah.
So regardless of how you feel about the things that he said, this is about anybody.
Mhm.
And about having like a dialogue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this is what happens when people stop having a dialogue.
Yeah. And he literally said that too. And it's like, as I saw people like rejoicing on social media and all that stuff, I'm like, okay, so him today, somebody that you know and love tomorrow.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Somebody whose opinion that you really respect and stand on, maybe them next, because the positions of power change.
Yeah.
And so for me, this week since it happened, I've been really upset. I've been more impacted than I thought I would be, because I wasn't a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I am human enough to still feel for somebody that
Yeah.
I don't know, to
Yeah.
just know that it's wrong to take somebody's life because you don't agree with their opinion.
And that's my whole thing. It is wrong what happened to him. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not over, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to have agreed with this person. This person could have been, pre-Hitler before he started,
Mhm.
killing people, and committing genocides. You have your staunch opinions about stuff. You can have your opinion to counteract his, but like, unless this person has done something to harm you, you have no cause to cause him physical harm.
Well, people are arguing like, oh, he had hate speech. His rhetoric was harmful. Is this and this and that? It's like, it was it hate speech, or was it speech that you hated?
It was a speech that you hated.
There's a difference. He was not a politician.
Mhm.
He was not a policymaker. He was not in Congress. This is not somebody who was making laws. But
Could've been.
I do understand that he had influence
Right.
to the closest people who were. And so the past 3 days, I feel like, the past 2 days since it's happened. The first day I was pissed. I'm glad I didn't do a podcast that day, because it would not have been nearly as nice and clean as this one is today. But like, it's scary. It's sad. It's really scary. It's really sad. And
it's because it's a sign of our society. It's like,
Mhm.
this is where
this is where we're
we
at.
are.
This is where we're at.
And it's also shocking too, just how graphic. Like, you can it was like really surprisingly easy to find these things, and so it was surprising for me to see how desensitized everyone else is to this type of violence. This is like the second
Mhm.
really gruesome murder to happen like within like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
But
people were just like, yay, like cheering. People were cheering there. People were there.
No, I don't think people there had realized
I
that he
don't
has
think
got.
they knew it just happened.
They didn't
had
know.
no
They
idea.
weren't cheering because he just got shot in front of
okay.
them. I don't think that was the case. They were running for their lives once they realized. But as I was kind of sitting up on my high horse this week, like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm not celebrating this. People who are celebrating this are disgusting. Like, literally this morning, God had brought to my mind, it was like, okay, but when the United Healthcare CEO got shot,
dang.
you celebrated. And I don't want to say I
Dang,
celebrated
dang,
that.
dang.
I laughed. I liked memes.
That's a good
I was
point.
liking comments. And so
Yeah.
somebody has said, like, it's a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because if we praise this, at what point does it stop? You don't get to take vigilante action into your own hands of taking the life of somebody that you don't agree with. And so for me, when it was the United Healthcare CEO, I was like, well, his policies endangered a lot of people.
Not
He- this-
endangered. They killed people.
No, they did kill people. He
And
denied insurances and all that stuff.
It is different.
How was it different?
It's different because he was in an insurance business. He was making business decisions that were costing people their lives
No, he caused direct
and their
harm to people,
livelihoods
for sure.
and bankrupting people.
Mhm.
And for all of America to collectively on both sides of the aisle
Yeah.
to be like, we kind of understand. That's different. This guy had an opinion on one side, okay, and it was just that. He didn't have any ability to have like a policy or something that was affecting millions
But
of people.
here's the thing, and here's
You know what I'm saying?
why
Where people are dying and
I'm going to
stuff.
push back on that a little bit, because at the end of the day, these are two men who both did things that people didn't like.
Okay.
And neither one of them got due process.
Okay.
Neither one of them got to be in court.
Okay.
Somebody took it upon themselves to go and kill them.
Yeah.
And I praised one, and now I'm shunning another. And God really has shown me my own hypocrisy just this morning.
Yeah.
If I say I'm a Christian, I have to be a Christian about all things. I can't applaud one person's death and then be mad about another. And that's the slippery slope that we find ourselves on, where it's like somebody you don't like, they get assassinated, we clap. Somebody you do like, they get assassinated, and everybody else who's clapping is bad.
Yeah. I'm just pointing out the differences. The differences are what I just said. You know what I'm saying? It isn't right to commit murder for any kind of a reason other than, well, if you're protecting yourself, it's not murder. You know, if someone's trying to kill you, you kill them. That's a completely different situation.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. But Rami, I want to hear your take on this as we're talking.
So I think the difference between the CEO and Charliekirk is that the CEO is a capitalist thing, and Charliekirk is a freedom of speech thing.
It's a political thing.
So that's kind of where they differ, because I mean, people who are capitalists there's a silent majority. People say that, they're not as outspoken, but there were plenty of people who were upset about the CEO that got shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's two ways to look at it, but I think what needs to be really looked at is who is celebrating the death of Charliekirk, because it's not and it's not even about what we think it is. I think it's that some people don't believe in freedom of speech.
Pull your mic a little closer if you can.
Okay, some people don't believe in freedom of speech when it's something that they don't agree with.
Right.
Freedom of speech is across the board. Freedom of speech is
it's freedom of speech.
It's freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech is and some people, they just don't understand that, and that's I think that's an issue, because this is an American issue. Only in America, right?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be able to say just you'd have to say anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that some people don't understand that. Some people don't understand the reality that the same right that gives you to say anything, right, is the same right that the KKK has any right to say anything else.
And their freedom of speech has to be just as protected as yours, or it's not freedom of speech. Like, that's literally what it is. If the person that you don't agree with can't say what they want to say, then that's not freedom of speech. And it's like, I feel like these were the same people who were so oppressive to other people during COVID. Like, these are the same group of people who did not want freedom of speech during COVID. There's like a certain sect of Americans that I feel like are so heavily propagandized that they can't see past their 2 feet.
Yeah.
And then they're in a community with just themselves. It's a resounding board of just themselves. And, for me, I people from all walks of life have been in posts about Charliekirk's death just being very nasty, very hateful, laughing, celebrating. And the thing that I've heard is like, oh, he preached hate. He talked about, not wanting to get rid of guns. This is what he gets. That's what people are saying. This is what he gets. It's like, first of all, everything that he spoke about is in the Constitution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Freedom of speech, like being able to have the right to bear arms, all of that. You know what I mean? And so the fact that he died because of gun violence, that isn't to be like, haha, that's what you get. You know what I mean? I feel like there should be gun reform in America, but it's in the Constitution. They will never take away all of the guns in this country. Yeah. They won't. Go ahead, Rami.
A single shot from 300 yards is not gun violence.
Right. It's an assassination.
That's
a whole assassination.
That's one shot from 300 yards.
Hold on. I think I got that.
That's
not a mass
violence.
shooter. That is a assassin.
Let me see if I have the map. So this is the map of like where Charlie was sitting when he was unfortunately gunned down, and then where the shooter was. You see how far that is?
As somebody who shot guns and shoots guns, you're not going to see him from that angle.
No.
That scope was already that sight was already predetermined,
prepared.
But they already knew where he was going to sit.
Yeah.
That angle, because he had the canopy on top of him.
Yeah.
You're not going to see it from 300 yards and that high up. They already had it pre-sighted.
Yeah.
They already knew where he was going to sit.
They knew where he was going to be setting
when
up.
Trump got shot, it was like 4 or 5 shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy was one shot. They knew exactly where he was going to sit.
Yeah.
Center mass, right?
And they're saying,
and they calculated for center mass, and they're like, okay, I mean, people are saying he had a bulletproof vest. I'm not sure what the whole situation was.
Yeah.
But
I think he had he was wearing a t-shirt, so if
he
he had
was wearing a
anything,
t-shirt. There's no way
I think he had,
I didn't
he
see
had a
him.
second. If
I'm
he
not
had
sure
anything,
what this.
I don't think
I
he
think
had
it
on
was
a
a second
vest,
chance.
I don't
but
remember.
Second
what
chance.
but they
he was
didn't
wearing,
attempt the
but-
shot at the chest because you could possibly survive those. You know what I mean?
But not from a bolt action, not from that far out.
Yeah.
Not with that caliber rifle. That shit went right
They
through
shot
his
him.
Yeah.
They killed him instantly.
I feel like
I
it
said,
was
like that-
a professional thing. And so for me, these are my controversial hot takes. And you've had to talk me off the ledge a couple times this week, but I'm going to say it anyways. And I'm going to find a way to say it tactfully. But there is a pattern that I feel like we have seen in that you can talk about whatever you want, but there is a place that you don't go and there's a people that you don't talk about. Prince learned that. Michael Jackson learned that. And there's a couple people that Charliekirk, right, around the in the month or a couple of weeks leading out to his life, he slowly but surely started to question his stance about America's relationship with Israel and the government of Israel. For the first time in his public life, he started to ask the wrong questions about the wrong people. And I think it was either that same week or the week before, he had hosted Dave Smith. He had hosted a conversation with Dave Smith. And you know Dave Smith, he's very vocal. You know, he's a Jewish man himself, but he's very vocal about not agreeing with Israel's government. Mm-hmm. And so he had platformed this guy that a lot of people feel like, oh, it's dangerous. He's dangerous. He shouldn't be platformed or whatever. And so Charliekirk, who has the ear of the youth in America, who has the ear of the up and coming conservatives, he started questioning AIPAC. He started questioning all the things that got JFK shot. He started going to a place that no man is allowed to go. And they didn't even let him go halfway down that road. Because think about it. He has been talking about Black America for years. He has been talking about trans America for years. He's been talking about the LGBTQ, all the controversial things within America. He's been talking about for years. And there's never been a single attempt on his life. Within the month that he starts questioning Israel, he's dead. And I'm not making allegations. I'm not, I don't know what happened, but I don't think it's as clear cut as it was a vigilante who was disgruntled that shot him, because plenty of people have wanted to kill Charliekirk. I'm sure he's been receiving death threats, I'm sure, for most of his political career. But he went to a place that when you go there, it's a very clear line that you're not supposed to cross. He's too powerful. Too many people are listening to him. And I feel like there's something to be looked into there. He started questioning about the Epstein files. He wasn't letting it go. And I think for, people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, they could very easily write them off as, oh, they're crazy, they're kooks, they're controversial. They are just, political pundits. They're extremists. But Charliekirk, people were like, okay, maybe we'll listen to him. And so I feel like he went to a place that you don't come back from. You don't talk about Israel. And he started talking about Israel. And I do believe that perhaps had something to do with why his life was taken. I feel like looking at this map here, it was done by somebody who was a professional who knew what it is that they were doing. Listen, the FBI can find a piece of gum that you stepped on 5 years ago. You can't find who did this? You don't have a clue?
Well, they found him. What are you talking about?
Did they?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Well,
it's a young guy.
Yeah, they found this young guy. The point that you're making is that you don't believe it's that guy, but they found someone. So you can't.
Who?
This kid, this 22-year-old.
Well, there's a difference between they found the guy and they found someone.
And they found someone.
They found
someone. They didn't find the guy.
They can find.
I don't care. If you
so it doesn't matter. My point is that.
How do you feel about Lee Harvey Oswald?
My point is that.
You're literally describing.
It's a leap.
He did it.
I'm open-minded to all conspiracies.
And see, I'm married to somebody I can disagree with, and that's important. This is in home. I get pushback in the home, which is great. I welcome it.
As do I. But it's like it's just, why not kill like David Smith or Dave Smith? Why not?
Because
he actually
you want to know what's more. You want to know what's more dangerous to them than just an outspoken person, somebody who was on their side then became.
But when I saw that excerpt,
now they have
I didn't see it. I saw that little segment of him giving that little diatribe, and like I didn't see
But listen,
Charliekirk like being like,
honey,
you're right.
I didn't upload the clips.
I
need more proof.
And I'll show it to you. I couldn't upload it, but he had there's clips of him saying like APAC should register as a foreign entity. He is saying these things. His rhetoric was starting to change. That one clip that I showed you of just Dave Smith talking, Charlie was just listening, but then he responded back and he was agreeing with him. And so again, I'm just somebody speculating, but to me, it's just very strange. The timing is strange. And I'm not going to believe that they found some random guy who confessed, some random kid who confessed, because it's always that. And then we move on. We were talking about this and I'm like, who was Trump's shooter? Did they confirm who that was?
They had a person, yeah.
They had a person. But is it confirmed that is he in jail?
I'm pretty sure they killed him.
They didn't kill him. It was a kid in the Block Rock commercial, but is it confirmed? Did we ever get a closing to that? He's not dead.
Didn't they shoot him?
No.
Didn't they get off 2 shots after the kid shot?
They caught him after the
sniper
fact.
shot him. The sniper literally shot him. After the sniper literally shot him, that's literally how it went. The guy got off some shots and then they neutralized the threat.
I was about to say, I'm like, Solomon, can you look it up for us? Because I don't want to be on here.
I mean, okay. I don't know what the thing.
I just don't know if that's how that went. But that's the thing, though. We just don't know anything. Things happen and the news cycle moves on.
Trump shooter dead. Is that what it says?
Trump shooter.
And that's what he looked for.
That's what I asked for.
Thomas Matthew.
It says was. So let's see.
So scroll on the side. It will say how he died. Cause of death: gunshot wound.
Nice. Okay.
So he died.
That?
Right there on the right hand side, underneath his photo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
So what was mysterious about it was that he died, but then when they tried to look into his past, they couldn't find any social media.
He's a ghost.
He was a ghost online, and that's just, and for his age, that's unheard of.
That is unheard of.
So it was, obviously.
But they did find him in the Black Rock commercial, and so let me correct that right in this moment because I don't want to spread misinformation. They did supposedly catch the Trump shooter, and he is dead as well.
The mysterious thing is that he has no.
And then we just moved on from it. I feel like there's no closure. There's no real clear endings to these things. And then the next thing happened. And then the next things happen. And then we just move on. They find it's always the lone gunman, the white kid who was radicalized, and this and that. And it's like, you know what? I don't believe anything anymore.
They tried to racialize it immediately. Like
they did.
They were threatening historically black colleges.
Yeah, the HBC, and even that. I'm so distrustful of just everything in the media that I'm just like, why are they trying to put this? They're trying to make it into a race war thing. You know what I mean?
Tried,
calling HBCUs. They don't even know if the shooter was black.
Luckily, the shooter wasn't black. I was just like, if he's black,
that doesn't even make sense because here's the thing.
And he could have been any race. He was talking shit about everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's an equal opportunity.
He was talking about
offender.
everybody. When I've been talking to people in the
everybody.
streets, everybody's been like, "Dang, it's crazy."
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been talking about Mexicans. He shouldn't have been talking about black people.
Well, I mean, nobody should be talking derogatory to anybody. But
right.
the thing is,
people had some grievances with them.
Of course they did.
But my whole thing is just that that's the problem is that you didn't agree with him. And you just killed him. That is not America.
But here's the thing, though. It wasn't even derogatory. It's controversial to some.
Controversial.
What was controversial that he was saying? Get married. Marriage is between a man and a woman. The black community needs to take accountability for the things that happen in the black community. The black community is being, impoverished of its own volition at times, well,
there's that, but he also called the kid a chink on stage.
Oh, that's crazy.
I
didn't see that one.
You fucking chink or some shit like that. He went off on. He said some wild shit, and I was like, "Damn."
You sure?
I didn't agree.
Because he does stuff.
I saw the video of how he could get up, and he was going off.
For me, what I didn't agree with, was the characterizing of George Floyd's death. I couldn't get behind that, and that he died from an overdose. We shouldn't make the degenerate people in our society are martyrs for us. This and that. Him and Candace, I have learned that if there's somebody who I like, I can leave and take things. You know what I mean? I don't have to 100% agree with every single thing that you say. I didn't agree with how they handled the George Floyd thing. I didn't. And I didn't like that. But it's there were things that they said that they liked. But for me, I get to a point where it's as an African, sometimes I feel like I don't have ground to criticize the black community because there's things that they have gone through here that as Africans, we experience some of it. But we have some protective measures in that we know and have been to continents where everybody looks like us. We come from places where we're the majority, you know what I mean, where our issues are corruption, but not so much racism. I feel like I've lived in the US ever since I was 7 years old. I'm 32 years old. I've grown up here my whole life. But in those 7 years, I was born in Sierra Leone, those 7 years that I raised there, I feel like my family instilled something in me that is like, it was a protective like force between the racism that I faced here. I know that I'm not nobody. I know that I can achieve. I know that no matter how racist somebody treats me, the names that they call me, it's like at the end of the day, that's not going to stop me from being successful. And I think, you know, we have that mindset as Africans. And so sometimes when we criticize African Americans and their culture, they feel like we have no right to. And at some point, like I do agree, I get it, you know what I mean? And so I'm very light and when I do, but it's like I was really disappointed by how the Black community reacted to Charliekirk's death, and I was really disappointed by those who call themselves Christians within the Black community reacting to Charliekirk's death, because it's like I know what we have suffered at the hands of white people. It started in Africa. We have suffered in this country and in all over the world at the hands of white people, but at some point it's like, do we become like them?
And that's a good point that you're saying, because one thing that I see a lot of times these days is that, like, after George Floyd, you know, there's this tendency for some Black people to really get on a high horse of being like, well, this happened to us.
Yeah.
Now it's our time. You know what I'm saying? And it's also somewhat of a sentiment of like, we have only just begun, you know, like we need to.
But do you build the future with hate?
You know, it's like at some point we need to be just, it's like, okay, it's starting, I think.
Yeah.
You know, this is the most educated that Black people have ever been. I feel like this is an era where there is more success within the Black community than there ever has been, at least monetarily and financially, you know what I mean? Things are changing.
Hold on, not to cut you off, just to correct that statement really quick, that it being this is the most educated Black people have ever been. This is the most educated Black people have been allowed to be in this country. Black people have always been the most educated people, starting from Timbuktu, starting from Africa. I'm talking
about America.
We're the most degree holders.
Black people
now,
are not going
but
to
they've always been.
in America.
No, but listen, they've always been educated. They have always been educated. But it's like this is the most degree holders that we've had. But that's because college is more accessible to people. Yeah. You know, so I do just want to, like how you corrected me with the Trump thing, I want to correct that.
But I mean, my statement's the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is the most educated Black people have ever been because, you know, things are more accessible to Black people, you know, and people of color in general, you know. But at a certain point, we have to be better. Like we have to be the ones to be like, okay, like, and I say we because I am a Black person. You and I,
Black person.
all of us on this couch, being non-white people, have experienced racism because of the color of our skin. And so all I'm saying is that, you know, at a certain point, it's like, okay, I didn't grow up in the hood. You know what I'm saying, don't have problems with the police, you know what I'm saying? Like I haven't had these kind of things. Like, so it's up to me to, you know, being blessed, having come from a good home and a good environment to be a regular, like contributing citizen to society. You know?
To just be
I don't need to be angsty.
An American.
I don't need to be angsty. I don't need special treatment. But I demand equal treatment as everyone else gets because that's my right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And to Charlie point's Kirk, I think, and what was lost in a lot of all the rage bait things that he said is that now we're at that point in America that it is equal. You know what I mean? Not that there isn't racism, but our access to things are as equal as they've ever been in this country.
There you go.
Coming from slavery, coming from Jim Crow, coming from segregation, right now is the most free African Americans have been in this society.
And I agree with that.
And to say that there isn't racism, I believe, is a lie. But
yes, there's plenty of
it can't stop you in the ways that it could before.
And well said.
That's it.
It's more about socioeconomic.
It's nowadays.
What do you mean by socioeconomic?
Well, it's about depending on the communities that you come from. I mean, there's you know, upper middle class communities and they have all kinds of races.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So once you're kind of in that situation, it's about, you know, people from other communities, whether they have access or not to certain programs, levels of education. I mean, there's a lot of factors when you know, socioeconomic situation. There's things called like food deserts. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
We just didn't know what to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was really confused, like because there'd be parts of like Detroit, and you'd walk around, and there was no grocery
stores.
There was no Walmart. There was no
liquor store,
Target.
carry out.
Only liquor store and corner store,
Mhm.
and that's where you bought your groceries from. And them shits were like 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
It was always some bullshit.
Yeah.
And then so everybody else just bought either fast food or they bought some shit that was off the shelf. They had preservatives and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, and then what happens is, for example, okay, you don't have access to, good quality food. And now you're loading your kid up with sugar. Now this kid's in school, right?
ADHD.
He can't sit his ass down. Now he's got ADHD for his whole life. Now he's on some medication. Now he's on a track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by socioeconomic factors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on. So, I think the people that want to keep the status quo when it comes to the socioeconomic factors, bait, they race bait.
Absolutely.
That's what I think happens more than anything.
Is that and the fact that socioeconomic status lends itself to like, people of similar ethnic backgrounds live together. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, I mean, at the same time.
And so if you're all poor, you know what I'm saying?
If you're all poor, here's the thing. When white people and black people all grow up and Asians and Mexicans and they're all poor, you don't see race.
I'm about to say that racism stuff go out the window real quick.
That racism shit,
Right.
or if everybody's eating, you know what I mean? It's when there's a difference.
Yeah.
That's when the racism
and that's true at every class level.
Yeah.
Because when you're the high 1%ers is like that too. They don't care about race.
But here's the
race,
thing. I feel like
the only color they care about is green.
People feel like, racism is intensifying, but it's like, it's not that. The wage gap is intensifying.
Yeah.
The gap between rich and poor is intensifying.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, I've always known that it's a class thing. It's never been a race thing. They make poor people fight over little resources while they hoard the rest of it to themselves.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was a little tone deaf sometimes with Charliekirk not understand that those structures and those remnants that were put into society to keep certain people where it is that they're at, that they are still there. And you can navigate your way through them. Yes, you absolutely can, but you have to acknowledge that they are there. It's like there's this saying that I always hear. It's like, oh, we have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have. I don't say stuff like that to myself. That is self-defeating. I will never tell that to my children. You have to work harder than this white person so you can get. I will never. That is so self-defeating. I don't speak to myself like that. I'm a God-fearing woman and I work hard. There's nothing that I can't ever get if I'm not willing to apply myself, no matter who doesn't want to give it to me.
Yeah.
And I've told you so many, and you've told me stories. We've all shared stories about the racism that we faced in life, but we didn't allow it to hinder us. And so to just, kind of wrap up the conversation about Charliekirk, like, my condolences go out to his family. I'm praying for his family. I'm praying for his wife. It's really unfortunate that his children have to grow up without their father. And I'm really sad about it, and it's like, if you're one of those people who's celebrating this and it's like, well, it happens, him today. Somebody that you like and respect, possibly tomorrow, because it is a snowball, and you never know at what point does it stop? At what point do we say this isn't good and this is not acceptable?
You were right when you said the United thing. I was like, dang, you're right.
Yeah, I mean that was my conversation with Jesus this morning.
That's wrong too.
Yeah,
that's wrong too, and I admit too to also being like, but that's wrong too. They didn't get due process.
No,
and we can't pick and choose. It's like, we're all Americans. Like, we all have the same rights in this country. Like, and if you feel like someone done something truly wrong to the extent that they need to be killed, like, you should at least attempt justice first.
Listen, all three of us are, and I said this last night after our open mic, all three of us are orators. We all speak, we do comedy, we're on a public social media platform sharing our opinions. The only difference between us and Charliekirk is a couple million people and maybe a few non-polarizing opinions. We might get to a point in our life when we say something that somebody doesn't agree with, and that doesn't give them the right to take our life.
Yeah,
and we have to stand on that now.
And that's anybody.
That's what it means to be an American. The person you disagree with the most is the person whose speech you should protect first.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what people are missing about this. What people are missing about is the falling apart of what it means to be an American when it in regards to freedom of speech and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what I think is the bigger issue, and we really need to get back to what matters.
America feels like two countries right now.
Yeah.
It feels like there's the conservative land and liberal land. I feel like we've gotten to the point where Americans don't look at each other as fellow citizens. We've stopped doing that a long time ago, honestly. I feel like nothing has been the same since 2019. We all got into our corners, and then social media keeps us in our bubbles of thought and opinion. And if you don't make an effort to push outside of that, you're gonna be in your own la la land. Social media would create a resounding board of reinforcing your opinions. You're only friends with people who think like you. You only live around people who think like you. You stop being with friends with people who don't affirm your thoughts, your feelings, your belief, your identity, and that's a very dangerous way to live. And I have felt it. I have felt it.
It sucks because in many years we haven't had a president who comes and makes a address of like, unity. Nobody
we
does
have to
that.
Stop this. We have to.
I think that they are actually afraid. I feel like Trump has a certain amount of fear as well right now because they try to take his life. He wants to get things done, but at the same time, it's not inexcusable for it's not crazy for somebody to be afraid to be assassinated. I feel like he's somebody but he's the president of the United States. You take oaths.
Is he or is Netanyahu?
We need a unifying.
Careful.
I said what I said. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just
let me be careful. Is he the president of America?
You just want to talk about like Israel so bad, but I'm just like, forget all that. Like I'm talking about the fact like we have a president, we have leadership. We need a leader who wants to actually unify the American people. We haven't had that in the last two administrations.
And I would counter and say that we're not allowed to. That's not the model anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
I heard this thing that it's like,
Trump can't do it. He is fear. I think he is either fearful of his life.
Of course he is. He knows what they're capable of. They tried to kill him. There's a lot
of weird things going on, and because we have this super information highway and
I blame the media. I blame the media.
We the common people we get all this information and we get confused and we pick and choose and we run with whatever we have.
Yeah.
And it's made us all very polarized to the point where we can't meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And they're shooting people because
and you
they
have
don't
to make
agree
an
with them.
effort to meet in the middle because now it's just very easy to just be in your corner, and not hear any type of pushback to the point where you can't handle
violence. Should not be the answer to something like this.
Yeah.
Violence. And, to me, it was just really disconcerting to see what I saw. You know what I'm saying, in that video. Like I did not like it. I don't think that
no one deserves that.
Nobody deserves that.
And
shame on me for, even, feeling the ways about the United guy, because although I think what he was doing and his policies were wrong and that he deserved to face some sort of justice, it should not have been like that.
Yeah, it should not have been like that.
He also had a family too, and he probably had his own little point of view on the whole situation, but what he was doing was wrong, I think, definitively. But these people deserve the right to be able to speak up for themselves. And in the case of Charliekirk, it's just so crazy. It shot him mid sentence, like. But
it's like it when you get to the point where you can't debate your ideas, and this is something I've seen a lot in the Democratic Party. It's like their arguments fall apart when they actually get them up on their feet.
Yeah.
When they sit down with somebody and they have a discourse, I feel like sometimes they very quickly see that those arguments don't really quite stand or are based in logic, really. So it gets pretty consistently, and so it gets overwhelming. And I feel like they've fostered an environment and a culture within the Democratic Party where people can't handle pushback. And some people can't handle it to the degree where it's like it'll result in violence.
They have no basis.
They'll
for
punch
any
people in the face. They'll do this and do that. And I'm not trying to make it seem like the conservative party is like, without faults. Without faults. But I feel like a lot of our ideas are more fleshed out with reasoning and truth behind them. Truth stands.
They're based on things. Like they're either based on
reality. It's based in reality.
Yeah, they're either based on religious belief. They're based on reality.
They're based on reality.
Really, I mean, it's like
though, like growing up as younger, right?
Yeah.
Being a progressive used to mean something, right?
Yeah.
Being a progressive used to mean we used to stand up for be open-minded, be progressive, be liberal about being accepting of other people, right? Charliekirk he's a different opinion. You should be accepting of him, right? But the thing is, now the Democratic Party, now liberals and this whole situation of the left is just unrecognizable to people. Like,
I miss the old Democrat.
It's not like how
it used to be.
Yeah.
It's morphed into something completely different.
I agree.
Used to be kind of jiggy. Now it's like something kind of crazy.
Yeah, we used to stand up for everybody's rights,
Yeah.
and now it's just the people that we agree with, or the people that we like, or the people who matches our agenda.
Absolutely.
Because Democrats,
that's what it used to be.
Because for
about.
me, at this point in my life, I don't really feel like I have any. I can't say that like, oh, I'm this party and this party now. But I will vote
I'm
for whoever, whichever candidate at the time is going more so like wants to bring the country into a way that is conducive to a life that I'm trying to live.
I always say I'm a registered independent. I vote for whoever makes the most sense at the time. I'm not married to any party. I reserve the right to change and change my mind when presented with new information. I can go back and apologize when I'm wrong. I'm open to be educated. I don't have all the answers. And it's like that's a level of humility that we all need to have, because we all don't have the answers. And it's not embarrassing to be wrong or to ask questions or, to feel one way about something and, have your mind changed over a while. And so I do feel like this is going to maybe bring more people to the center. And it's like the people who are in the center, we do need to be more vocal, because you have the two extremes that are always the most vocal. They're the loudest. And the majority of people who are moderate and, can see both sides and can reason, they don't want to be attacked. And so they don't say anything, And so, but I'm like, now is no time to be silent. We have to make all of our diverse opinions known. And so I would like to move on to our next topic, which is this young woman by the name of, let me bring up her photo, beautiful young Ukrainian woman named Irynazarutska. And I hope I'm saying her name right. She unfortunately also lost her life this month through violence, senseless violence. And so I want to make sure that I come with the facts as well before we get into our thoughts and, opinions about what unfortunately happened to her. And so this is Wikipedia. It says, the killing of Irynazarutska occurred on August 22nd, 2005 at the East-West Boulevard Light Rail Station on the Lynx Blue Line in Charlotte, North Carolina, United States. Irynazarutska, a Ukrainian refugee who had fled her country because of the Russian invasion, was fatally stabbed. Her assailant was arrested upon exiting the train and charged with first-degree murder. So I know you didn't watch the video, and I'm glad you didn't, but I unfortunately did. And she had just gotten off of work. Apparently, she worked at a pizzeria. She's on a train. She gets on the train and she sits in the seat that's open. You see an open seat, you just sit down. And the guy who was sitting behind her, apparently, let me get his name so that, because we need to know the name of this horrible guy that did this. Let me get it correct. Okay. On August 22nd, 2005, surveillance footage shows Zarutska boarding the train and sitting in front of the perpetrator. No security personnel were present in the train car, though there were officers on board the train, one car ahead. 4 minutes later, the perpetrator pulled a pocket knife from his hoodie and stabbed Zarutska 3 times, including at least once in the neck. After the attack, he said, "I got that white girl. I got that white girl." The suspect exited the train 2 minutes later and was arrested by the police on the platform for murder. And so I watched the video. She's like anybody else would do. Just got off of work, gets on the train, sits in the one open seat that she can find, has her AirPods in, and is on her phone, just scrolling. And you can see this guy in the back with a red hoodie on, kind of like, talking to himself a little bit, And then he pulls out his pocket knife, stands up, literally just stabs her and walks away. And she's looking up at him like, what? And there's like maybe 5 or 6 people sitting right in their little train area that watched this happen. The guy who was sitting behind the man who stabbed her, he gets off the train. He just gets off. There's a lady who's sitting like this close to her. She looks over at her, gets off the train. No one did anything to help this girl. This is a train full of people. Men, women. This guy's walking through the train now with his pocket knife dripping blood. Takes off his shirt. No one intervenes. She literally looks up at him, looks around, and then the same thing that Charliekirk did. She went into that position and toppled over. Not a single person came up to her in that video to see if she was okay. And that, to me, is a very scary America to live in. that everybody is so afraid, so
What city is that?
self-centered. North Carolina, Charlotte.
Jeez.
And you would think someone had to be strapped.
Yeah, you would think, right? But no, but for me, even just the humanity, and honestly, I could tell everybody in the video was scared for themselves because, of
Yeah.
course, you just
Yeah.
saw this guy stab somebody. He still has the weapon. But all these men on the train,
They didn't do nothing.
they didn't do nothing.
They didn't do nothing.
Grown men, train full of grown men. Not one of them, not a single one of them stood up, said anything. Okay, maybe you don't approach the perpetrator. Fine, go to her. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And even from like woman to woman, there was a woman beside her.
Yeah.
She got up and walked away.
Yeah.
No one helped this girl.
Mhm.
And that to me was the saddest part. You leave a war zone and you come to America and it's more dangerous.
Yeah.
That is where we're at in this society
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
That being here is more unsafe than being in a place that's actively at war.
Yeah.
But can we even prevent that? It's a schizophrenic guy. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Mentally ill.
unfortunately.
But now
that's
we're talking
that's
about law.
reality. That what I'm saying is like that's a reality of, I guess, live. You know what?
Yeah.
It's so fucking crazy. Like you can just
some
sit
people try
somewhere
to
and someone
attribute it
snaps.
race to it, but it doesn't.
It has
seem to
nothing
be that
to
type
do
of
with race,
situation.
but it does have everything to do with policies surrounding race. Ever since 2020, and I participated in this. You know, I did the BLM marches. I was out in the streets pounding the pavement. I wanted police reform because it was necessary.
Yeah.
But I think we swung the pendulum way too far, and that mentally ill people, there needs to be a greater like responsibility for them, accountability for them. I think we wanted police reform so bad and it was needed that now there is no punishment for like real crime. The crime has gotten so bad in this country. This man had 14 priors and it was, he had 14 priors and he was released consistently by the same black judge.
Yeah, nah, that's different. See,
Yes.
okay, that
14
changes. That
priors.
changes.
Well,
And
I have my opinions about this as well because it's because it's like it's mental illness,
yeah.
and so
But you
it's
have to
definitely they're like with reforms. There's a lot. Every situation of that I've ever known of recently, like since reform and everything post George Floyd, related to people having or committing crimes who have mental illness.
Mhm.
There's a lot of compassion.
Too much.
Police do a lot.
There's too much compassion.
I know that there is a change because it's like I know of black men like who have mental illness that have had run-ins with the police, and they can make the distinction of like this person's mentally ill. You know, they shouldn't, and at least in California, they try their best to ensure that this person doesn't lose their future because of their mental illness. So it's not a black and white issue because of this. It's like on one hand, what's the line to say that somebody has control of their own mental faculties if you say if they're mentally ill? And then it's like, do you incarcerate this person for life? Do you just institutionalize them for life?
You don't catch and release somebody that has 14 priors, one of them being armed robbery, someone who has a history of mental illness. What I mean by we've swung almost too far to the left where it's like because there's so much compassion, there's no accountability and there's no responsibility, and that's not good for anybody. It's not good for them because now he's in jail for the rest of his life, and now she's no longer here.
Okay.
So to the detriment of society at large, we're coddling a certain community of people, and it's like, and I understand the importance of mental health. I understand the importance of there being sensitivity to it and people being trained to understand it. But it's like, to what extent then? To what extent?
I hear exactly what you're saying.
Because we have a duty to protect others in our society.
Yes, we do.
We have a duty to protect, children, people who are vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as compassionate as we want to be, right? And we need to make the right decisions and do the right things for these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to have some kind of solution. But at the end of the day, we still have a duty to protect the majority of
Right.
people.
Of the taxpayers, and not just taxpayers. Anybody. Yeah.
Anybody. We need, as a society, because if we don't get a grip on this kind of situation,
Yeah.
what does that mean for us?
What are we gonna
It just
have?
feels like a breakdown, Just
No,
like-
it's a
just
complete
feels like it's a
breakdown.
breakdown in society
Yeah.
in so many levels.
So do you think they should bring
And,
back institutions?
Like,
Mental institutions?
They have them.
No, not anymore.
Guess what?
They
There's not
don't.
one. There's not one in LA.
Oh well, no,
There's not
California.
large ones,
California doesn't have them.
Yeah.
They passed the law, California especially, but it's like they're doing away with, and I work in the mental health field. They're doing away with, these large institutions. What the solution has been is community based type of thing. So now the rehabilitation process, like no large institutions. And I understand why the reform was needed. People were getting hurt, people were getting abused, but it's like they didn't have a solution before they closed down the institutions. They just closed them. And now these people are out in society who need help. They do need the help. And the help isn't, you're okay, go back out there.
That's been
help.
my whole point. Is that like no one has a solution. No one knows what to do. Everybody's just kind of reacting.
But this isn't the solution.
And then thinking on their feet. They're like, okay, this didn't work. End this. Let's just deal with this. Whatever happens next, we'll just deal with that. And that's where we are. Like,
listen, there was this. So they were.
But I agree with you with this. I'll say this. This is the last thing I'm gonna say about it. Like, 14 priors is crazy. Because at first you said it, and I was like, that's the excuse they used to give every time there was like a wrongful shooting by police. They'd be like, well, he committed a lot of crimes before. He was a career criminal. I'm like, but in this instance, it's like he was captured, and instead of rehabilitated or at least just taken off of the street, he was just released.
And they were violent crimes.
Some of them.
There's a
robbery, larceny,
between
battery. Yeah, if you have multiple,
right? Once you've been
attacking people multiple times, then it's like, okay, well, I try to be nice.
They were on MSNBC talking about this, and Van Jones was like, hurt people hurt people. You don't know what that man was going through his mind. And I'm just like, are you well?
I'm like, I see
that. That's the same argument as when I hear when back in the day when they used to shoot, when police used to kill black men, they used to be like, we haven't seen the whole video. That's what it felt like to me. We don't know what happened before the video started. That's what it felt like to me. Me watching this video, your excuse was, we don't know what he was going through. I saw you I don't care what you're going through. You assaulted a woman.
Yeah.
And I just it's listen. We all have our opinions, and that's all we can really have, but it's like things can't continue on this way. Yeah, rest in peace.
It's a terrible way that these people have died. Like,
gruesome, violent deaths.
This one is, for this woman, she was just a regular person.
Yeah, minding her business, just off. This honestly could have been anybody, man, woman, doesn't matter, race, color. This could have been anybody. The most normal thing that you could do is get off of work and use public transportation if you needed to go home.
Yeah,
that's the most normal thing you can do. You're not assuming that something like that's going to happen.
She was minding her own business,
and there's a bus full of people that will watch it and not help you.
Yeah.
I think that was the saddest part to me, was watching her look up. She literally looked up when it happened, and she looked around, and then
well, she's not American. She assumed people would help her out.
Yeah, Yeah.
Other people in other places would have jumped on that.
Absolutely.
Well, she's in America. She didn't.
Yeah, she was like, "Damn, this is America."
She didn't get the number of the people.
I don't know. In those situations, it's like, it's those. You don't know what you're gonna do until you're in those situations.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's not on those people. Don't bring those people into it. I do think though it is
as a man, if
I am bringing those people.
The only thing you
they have a responsibility to intervene.
The only thing. No, you're not charging them for a crime they didn't do anything. The only thing
I'm not saying that
you jump on the
only thing that it does. The only thing that it does.
No.
Is that it shows like. It's just another symptom of society's degradation.
But that's our issue in America.
People are more worried about themselves and are just and so like they got off the thing because they're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to deal with this.
We're not saying that they should be charged with a crime, but here's the thing: in America, we believe everything is everyone else's problem. It's not. We have a responsibility to.
That's what I'm saying. That's a sign of the society. It's tough out there. People can't find jobs. People are can't pay their rent.
So you
food prices are going up.
So you stab somebody, or you see
not
somebody,
from his perspective, from the perspective of the people that were also just being regular riding the bus.
I don't care. You know me well enough to know
they should have. No.
I have to hold myself back from interacting with people when I see people arguing in public. If I see somebody get assaulted in front of me, as scared as I am. I'm not going up to him. I'm going up to her. My issue is not that nobody confronted him. My issue is that nobody helped her. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. I hear it, and it is a shame.
It's a shame.
It's
unacceptable. It's not just a shame. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so,
but I don't think that them helping her would have saved her life. Is my point. Like it would have been. It's normal to expect that. Because even in my head, I'm like, nobody went over to like put pressure on the wound.
Mhm.
Nobody went over to do that. But
It
I'm
used
just
to
saying
mean
that
something to be a person.
it's a sign of the society
fuck
that
happened?
we live in. It's deeper than that. It's
All
like,
right,
it's just,
guys,
you know,
we may have to end up doing a
Part two.
part two. Our hour is up, and it's not every time that we end on a heated debate, but it's worth heat.
Yeah.
It's worth heat.
Rest in
The
peace to
loss
these
of human
victims.
Yeah, for real,
life is.
yeah.
It's not okay, and things are not okay in America. Americans are not okay, and we as Americans, as immigrants, like we know the value of what it
I'm a
is to
child of
be
an immigrant.
an American. We're all three of us are
Immigrants,
first
you know.
generation immigrants, and
Yeah.
we understand the value of being an American, and we can never lose sight of that as a society, as I fear we already have.
Yeah.
But I think it takes people like us to do what it is that we're doing now, to just be like, we just have to do better. We have to have the tough conversations. We have to butt heads,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna go get something to eat afterwards. So
Yeah, I'm sorry.
God bless America. Rest in peace to
bless
Irynazarutska and Charliekirk. I'll be praying for their families, and I encourage you to do the same. Please don't be leaving nasty comments under Charliekirk posts, because that could be somebody that you know and love. And freedom of speech only applies to people that you also disagree with.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is not just for you and your friends. It's for people like Charliekirk. And so you need to understand that. While you're here, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments, and we'll go from there. Thank y'all. See y'all next time.